Hey Diginettes! Today I want to talk about art, more specifically tattoos. A lot of people have been asking me about my tattoos, and I figured I'd make a video about it because they each have their own personal story. It used to be a lot of people would associate tattoos with criminal intent, like Yakuza or people who go to jail and things like that, but nowadays tattoos are more of an art form in and of themselves. And even prison tattoos are its own art form. I don't have any prison tattoos, I've never been to prison. But anyways, for me personally, tattoos are a permanent reminder. I've always seen them as a form of art, and the world is my brush, and my body is its canvas. I first started getting tattooed at 18 years old, and I fell in love with the idea of carrying my story around through art at all times, anywhere I go, even after death. I wear mine proudly as badges that represent stepping stones of different parts of my life. I earned my first tattoo when I was 18 years old, and it was my last year in high school. It was something that I had thought about for a couple of years and finally decided to get. This particular tattoo is a rose that has kind of teardrops on it and kind of like a tribal fence or cage, if you will, behind it. Originally when I got it, it meant something else, but it wound up becoming a piece that I grew into, and I didn't really realize how deep it was at the time. I was discreet with my first one, so I put it on my back shoulder, and I figured that was a good place for my first tattoo. And the best part about it is, even though I got it when I was 18, my parents didn't find out about it until I was 21, so that was kind of cool. I was able to hide it for 3 years. This particular tattoo kind of represents the growth that became who I was at 18, 19 years old through a 4-year shitstorm that everyone calls high school. So you've got this cage that you're kind of trapped in for 4 years, and pretty much everyone has to go through that. And at the end of that, you could be somebody completely different, or you could become yourself, or you could become someone that you don't like. For me personally, I wound up growing into something that I think is beautiful in every way, especially emotionally. High school was really rough for me, so getting this kind of put like the final nail on the coffin of you're done, those years are over, and here's your badge. You got through it, bro. Fast forward 4 years, I'm in college, and I got my second tattoo at 22 years old. This was something I decided to draw up, and it's a tribal bat. This one again on my back in a discreet location, easy to hide, but much bigger. In the Greek mythology, the signifier for significant change is the night journey. You can see this in examples of the Iliad and the Odyssey and things of that sort. And at this particular moment in my life, I was going through a very drastic change. I had a rough couple of years again, fell in and out of love, and decided that I wouldn't ever let anybody ever treat me that way ever again. So I needed a permanent reminder to get out of that rut, to fly away, to drastically change. And I honestly didn't realize how far these wings would take me until 4 years later. 4 years later, I earned my third tattoo at 26 years old. This was the start of a slew of tour tattoos over the last 3 years. 3 years ago, I befriended a band called the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. And this symbol is the symbol that represents the biggest and best fans of the band. It's called the Alliance. The super mega fans have this tattooed on them, and some of them don't know what it means, but I'm gonna show you what it means. If you hold it this way, it's an R. If you hold it this way, it's a J. And if you hold it this way, it's an A. So it's all 3 letters in one symbol, and then 2 back-to-back are my initials, JC, which wound up becoming my logo, and then I would discover that these dudes would become my new family. In my second year of touring, I decided to start getting tattoos in the places that really rang an awesome memory for me, and something I didn't ever want to forget. Backstory to this particular tattoo, I made a decision a long time ago to be straight edge. It's a personal choice, I'm not really preachy about it, but it's something that means a lot to me. So I wanted the tattoo to represent that, but also not be preachy about it, because that's just kind of who I am. So I chose Dare, and it's in a bold place on the knuckles, which is pretty common in the field that I reside, but it's only 1, it's not 2, and that's uncommon. This was a program that I went through as a kid and continue to live its rules and its guidelines to better my life as an adult. DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education, and it's something that if you ever ask me about, I'd love to sit down and talk with about. I love being straight edge, and I love talking with other straight edge people and just kind of learning about why they decided to make these decisions in their life and what it means to them the most. A few days later after getting my Dare tattoo, I was in Hawaii for the first time ever in my life. And probably about an hour or so after I got off the plane, the first thing we did was go to the hotel and then run down to the beach. And we started swimming in the ocean, and about 100 feet off the beach, we found a sea turtle. Not just like one you'd see at a zoo, this was in the wild, and it was gigantic, and it was amazing. Swimming with that sea turtle was like nirvana. It was one of the coolest experiences I'd ever had in my life. And doing this off the shore of Waikiki Beach in Hawaii was even more phenomenal. So later that evening, I didn't ever want to forget that. So I found the first tattoo shop I could, and I got a turtle tattoo underneath the right wing of my bat. And now I'll always have that story to tell when people ask me about it. A few months later, I found myself touring through Australia, and I fell in love with this country. It's my all-time favorite place to visit. It's my all-time favorite place to go. I absolutely love it. If I could live there, I totally would. So obviously I had to get some ink there to permanently remind me of the place that I love. This is Heaps. He's a barn owl. Barn owls are found all over the world on every continent, but they're only native to 2 places, America and Australia. Barn owls have traveled heaps of places, so have I, and I will continue to travel even more places. I named him Heaps because that's what they say over there. They don't say a lot or a bunch or a shit ton, they say heaps. They've got heaps of this and heaps of that. He's also the only crap tattoo I have. I love that he's a crap tattoo though. I spent too much money on him. He's like missing a foot, like one of his wings is kind of broken, and I kind of love that about him. And I got him in Australia. I'll never get him touched up because it kind of molded to me. I'm a little broken. My first trip to South Africa landed me my 7th tattoo. The first day I landed, we took a trip up to the top of a mountain called Lion's Head. We were only supposed to go there for the view. It's beautiful. You can see the edge of Africa from there, and you can see the island where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned. It was a really beautiful sight. But I also noticed while we were up there that there were these paragliders just kind of jumping off the side of the mountain. And I got to talking with one of the guys, and he said that anyone could do it. It wasn't just them for fun, it was their business. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm into that. So all my guys were like, no, there's no way you'll do it. You're not gonna make this jump. And I did. I jumped off that mountain, landed on the beach below. It was an awesome experience. I never ever wanted to forget it. So the second day I was there, I got it tattooed on me. I got Lion's Head, the mountain, a little paraglider dude, that's me, and a big giant lion's head. And the best part about it was that the moment my artist finished the tattoo, Katy Perry's Roar came on the radio, so it just kind of like stapled it in like, yeah, you earned this tattoo, and everything was pointing you to get this tattoo. I was really happy with it. And that's another story that I'm really proud to tell, so whenever anybody asks about it, I can tell them that I jumped off a mountain in South Africa, and that's what earned me this badge. In Florida, there's this foundation called To Write Love on Her Arms. It's a non-profit organization dedicated to helping teens and young adults dealing with depression, self-harm, and suicide. These are 3 things that I've struggled with personally over the years, and I love having this tattoo on me. I earned my love tattoo to remind me every single day that I'm not alone in this. There are a lot of people who struggle with these things, and none of us are alone. The last thing you want to do is end it all. I changed the O in their logo to an aperture because photography is something I love and something that gave me life and kind of helped me progress. And everybody has their own little hobby or niche, whatever it is that helps them truck along, whether it be friends or, somebody that inspires you, whatever it is. Cling on to that and don't let go. I purposely put the O over the vein in my hand, which is where you can feel your pulse. So it's kind of like my little panic button. So sometimes when I go through anxiety issues, I can just push my little O and I can feel that there's a pulse still there, and I can feel that I'm still alive and I'm still a breathing person, and I can still make decisions and I can still progress in my life, and that I'm not gone yet. I still have a footprint to leave, and people are gonna remember it. Since I first started getting tattoos, I've saved my whole left arm for Icarus. If you're not familiar with Icarus, it's a story that comes out of a poem called The Metamorphosis by Ovid. Check it out if you haven't, it's one of my favorites. Icarus and his father, Daedalus, are building this labyrinth to imprison the Minotaur, and they accidentally trap themselves inside. So Daedalus decides to build these wax wings for him and his son to escape. So he builds the wings and he warns his son Icarus. He says, hey, don't get too close to the sun because the wings will melt and you'll fall to your death. And don't get too close to the sea because the water from the sea that splashes up will be too heavy for the wings and you'll fall to your death there too. So kind of find a place in the middle to fly, and you'll be just fine. So Icarus listens, and he abides at first, but then he became so infatuated with flight that he accidentally got too close to the sun, the wings melted, and he fell to his death. The story of Icarus kind of means different things for certain people, but for me, it's about gifts, and that certain gifts have certain purposes, and you're not to abuse those gifts. You're supposed to appreciate them for what they are and embrace them as best you possibly can. So for me, it reminds me that the life I have and the life I live is something that I chose, but it's also a gift. So I need to not screw this up. I need to be the best I can at doing what I do best, and that's taking photos and videos for a band that I love to tour with. So for me, he reminds me that A, this job is a gift, and B, that life in itself is a gift, and to not lose yourself in the spirit of the adventure. To remind yourself that it is an adventure out there and it can be fun, but don't get lost in it. Sometimes you gotta stay grounded too. My 10th tattoo is Interstate 10. Yes, the actual Interstate sign. The reason I got this is because I have driven all of Interstate 10 from start to finish, from finish to start, like 4 times now. I've conquered that road. And I thought it was just a really, really cool tattoo idea. I don't think I've seen anybody ever with an Interstate sign tattooed, and I like that I've conquered the road. And that makes me really, really happy. There's a lot to see on that road if you haven't. It travels through a lot of states, mostly Texas. Mostly Texas. Mostly Texas. I don't hate Texas. I hate Texas. I don't hate Texas. I hate Texas. Well, this is awkward. Also, I love that it was my 10th tattoo. So Interstate 10 for 10 kind of makes a double pun, and it's an awesome story too. Love that drive. I do it all the time. When visiting Australia my second time, I got to hold a koala named Hugo. This is Hugo. He's awesome. It was so wild holding a koala, because it's just not something that we see every day in America, and in certain places in Australia they see them all the time, as much as we see deer in Pennsylvania. Rats with hooves. But for me, that was something that I didn't ever want to forget, so again, gotta get the tattoo. And it's in my favorite place in the world, so double awesome. And he's on my other thumb, so Heaps and Hugo are now best friends, and they hang out. My 12th tattoo is Stitch. This is something that I decided to get with my best friend Kay, and we talked about it for about a year before we decided to get it. Stitch is something that both of us really, really cling to because it's about somebody who's an outsider and finds himself a family. And what we did was we talked about getting just 626, but then at the last minute I decided it would be cool to get his colors and his ears and his antennae, because that's who he was. He was an alien, an outsider, and his name was 626, an experiment, a nothing, before he found his Ohana, his family. And Kay is my family. I don't ever want to forget her. And every single day I get to see that on my leg, and I know that she's got the exact same one on hers. And even though we're miles apart, we're together in spirit, we're together in skin, and we're together in heart. My 13th tattoo is the most recent one I've gotten. I don't think it's my last one. I think I'm still gonna continue getting tattoos, but I like having 13 for now. This one means a lot to me because there's a lot to it. Closer to my wrist is my heart on my sleeve. It's who I am. That's what I've always been. I've always been the person to wear my heart on my sleeve, but as you can see, it's kind of a little broken, beaten, and scarred. There's a band-aid, there's some stitches, it's got some bruising. It's been through the ringer and then some, and that's kind of my experience with my heart. It's been broken, beaten, scarred, and little by little I've been stitching it back up. Little by little. In the Native American zodiac, my birthday falls under the sign of the raven. So the raven is kind of me, and as you can tell, he's got this long needle and he's pulling the thread of the stitches that's piecing the heart back together. So for me, it's kind of little by little piecing that heart back together and pulling myself up by my bootstraps and taking that heart on a journey that's far, far away from the pain that it had gone through. That's what it means to me. Whenever I get a new tattoo, people who don't have tattoos always ask me about the pain. And honestly, it's different for everybody. Different locations on your body hurt more than others. Some don't hurt at all. For me personally, I think that if tattoos didn't hurt, everybody would have them. I feel like the pain is part of the journey that you have to earn. When people ask about what it feels like, I always tell them that it feels like when you've got a bad sunburn and somebody just kind of flicked a rubber band on it. That's what it feels like. It's mildly annoying, but some of it hurts more than others, and that really just depends on spot and what kind of a wuss you are. The longest tattoo I've ever sat through was 8 hours. The shortest I've ever sat through was about 25 minutes. I have one that I sat through that was 4 hours that hurt more than the one that I sat through for 8. Tattoos aren't for everyone, but they are for me. I think I'm gonna continue getting tattooed as I continue to travel the world and more things keep happening to me, because I never want to forget the experiences that are closely related to my heart. Thanks for watching. Keep calm, spice up your life.